Kylie Minogue hadn't planned on stopping in the small town of Prickly Pear Junction, Texas. Her tour bus was supposed to breeze right through on its way to Houston, where she performed at the Toyota Center the following night. But fate, as they say, had other plans, and they involved a suspicious-looking radiator hose and a mechanic who couldn't stop humming "Can't Get You Out of My Head." "For hours minimum," drawled Rick, the weathered mechanic, as he wiped his hands on a red bandana. "Maybe 5 if we need to order parts from Austin." He squinted at the tour bus's engine like it was a particularly puzzling crossword puzzle. "Y'all might want to find somewhere comfortable to wait." Kylie's tour manager, Sebastian, was already on his phone, pacing back and forth and muttering about insurance claims and schedule adjustments. The backup dancers had sprawled across the parking lot's few patches of shade, phones held high in search of better reception. But Kylie herself felt an unexpected surge of excitement. After months of carefully choreographed shows and meticulously planned appearances, here was something wonderfully unpredictable. The late afternoon sun cast long shadows across the town's main street, which looked like it had been plucked straight from a Western film set. Wooden boardwalks lined the storefronts, and a gentle breeze carried the sound of country music from somewhere down the road. In the window of Betty's Western Wear, a sparkly cowboy hat caught Kylie's eye, pink and silver, with a band adorned with tiny mirrors that caught the light. "I'm going for a walk," she announced, much to Sebastian's horror. "Kylie, we can't. The schedule, security." She waved him off with a laugh. "In this town? The biggest security risk is probably getting challenged to a line dance-off." Before anyone could protest further, she ducked into Betty's Western Wear, emerging minutes later wearing the hat and a denim jacket she'd found on sale. The mirror fragments in the hat's band created tiny dancing lights on the sidewalk as she walked. The music grew louder as she approached what appeared to be the town's main watering hole, the Lone Star and Cactus Saloon. A weathered wooden sign proclaimed, "Tonight, Miss Cactus 2025 preliminary round, all welcome." Through the windows, she could see a crowd gathered around a small stage, where a young woman in boots and a sash was attempting to two-step while balancing a book on her head. Kylie pushed through the swinging doors, and the blast of air conditioning was a blessed relief from the Texas heat. The interior was a charming mix of traditional saloon and modern sports bar, with neon beer signs sharing wall space with mounted longhorns and vintage rodeo posters. A few heads turned as she entered, but most folks were focused on the stage. "You here for the pageant, sugar?" A woman with impressively tall hair and a clipboard approached her. Her name tag identified her as Marlene, Miss Cactus 1985. "Registration closes in 5 minutes. We've got a last-minute dropout, and honey, that hat of yours is just screaming, 'Crown me.'" Before Kylie could explain who she was, the woman had grabbed her arm and was steering her toward a group of young women in various combinations of Western wear and evening gowns. "Now, what's your name and talent?" Perhaps it was the heat, or the unexpected adventure of it all, or simply the infectious enthusiasm of Marlene, but Kylie found herself saying, "I'm Kyle Minson. And I suppose I can dance a bit." Marlene beamed. "Perfect. We haven't had a good dance routine since Betsy Joe tried to combine rope tricks with ballet last year." Bless her heart, she nearly took out the judges' panel. She scribbled something on her clipboard. "You'll be contestant number 7. The talent portion starts in 30 minutes. Good luck, sugar." As Marlene clicked away in her turquoise boots, Kylie found herself surrounded by the other contestants. They introduced themselves in a flurry of names and handshakes. There was Annie from the local ranch, Madison who taught kindergarten, Bella who dreamed of opening a vegan barbecue food truck, a concept that had earned her more than a few skeptical looks, and several others whose names blurred together. "So, Kyle," said Annie, adjusting her own considerably less sparkly hat, "what brings you to Prickly Pear Junction?" Kylie opened her mouth to tell the truth, but then caught sight of Sebastian through the window, still pacing with his phone. For the first time in years, she was just another person in a bar, not an international pop star with 3 decades of hits. It felt liberating. "Oh, just passing through," she said with a smile. "But I've always wanted to see what these Texas pageants are all about." "Well, you picked a good one," Madison chimed in. "Miss Cactus is a tradition around here. The winner gets their photo up on the Wall of Fame, a year's supply of sweet tea from the general store, and this amazing cactus-shaped cake from Mary Beth's Bakery. Plus, the crown is decorated with real turquoise." As the other contestants filled her in on the pageant's history and traditions, Kylie's mind was already whirling with possibilities. She had 30 minutes to come up with a talent routine that wouldn't immediately give away her identity, but would still be good enough to make this adventure worthwhile. Through the window, she could see the sun beginning to set over the Texas horizon, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold that matched her new hat perfectly. Little did the good people of Prickly Pear Junction know that their small-town pageant was about to get an unexpected dose of international star power. And little did Kylie know that this unplanned stop would turn into one of the most memorable nights of her entire tour. Though whether that would be due to triumph or disaster remained to be seen. As Marlene's voice rang out calling for contestants to prepare for the talent portion, Kylie felt a familiar flutter of pre-performance butterflies in her stomach. But these weren't the usual arena-sized butterflies. These were pure, unscripted, small-town Texas butterflies, and they felt absolutely wonderful. The backstage area of the Lone Star and Cactus Saloon turned out to be a converted storage room, crammed with cardboard boxes of bar supplies, spare chairs, and 6 nervous pageant contestants. The 7th Annie was already on stage, demonstrating her cattle-calling skills to enthusiastic applause. Through the thin walls, Kylie could hear whoops and hollers as Annie hit a particularly impressive high note. "You're up next, Sugar," Marlene whispered, appearing beside Kylie like a sequined apparition. "Hope you've got your dancing shoes on." Kylie glanced down at her cowboy boots. Definitely not her usual performance footwear, but they'd have to do. She'd spent the last 20 minutes putting together a routine in her head, something that would showcase enough skill to be impressive but not so much that it would give away her professional background. The real challenge would be the music. "Don't suppose y'all have any particular song preferences?" she asked Marlene, trying to maintain her hastily adopted Texas accent. "Oh honey, DJ Bobby's got everything. He's been handling the music for Miss Cactus since 1992. Just tell him what you need." Kylie made her way to the DJ booth, where a man with an impressive mustache and a vintage Willie Nelson t-shirt sat surrounded by equipment. "Got any Madonna?" she asked. "Into the Groove, maybe?" Bobby's face lit up. "Finally, someone with taste. These young'uns keep requesting songs that came out last week. Give me the classics any day." As Annie left the stage to thunderous applause, Marlene's voice boomed through the microphone. "And now, please welcome contestant number 7, Kyle Minson, who'll be performing a dance routine." The opening beats of Into the Groove filled the saloon as Kylie stepped onto the stage. The floor was slightly sticky from spilled beer, and the spotlight was actually just a few strategic ceiling lamps, but the energy in the room was electric. She caught sight of her reflection in the mirror behind the bar. The sparkly cowboy hat threw dots of light across the ceiling like a disco ball. The muscle memory of decades of performing took over, but Kylie carefully kept her movements just this side of professional. She mixed line dancing steps with disco moves, threw in some playful tips of her hat, and even managed to incorporate some two-stepping with an imaginary partner. The crowd ate it up, particularly when she jumped off the stage to dance with some of the patrons. What she hadn't counted on was the song choice triggering recognition in one particular audience member. As she spun past the bar, she locked eyes with a woman in her 50s who was staring at her with increasing certainty. The woman's t-shirt, now visible in the light, read, "Kylie Minogue World Tour 1991, beneath a faded image of a much younger Kylie. The superfan's eyes widened and Kylie could see the exact moment recognition clicked into place. But before the woman could say anything, Kylie spun her into an impromptu dance move, whispering, "Please, it's our secret?" The woman's face broke into a conspiratorial grin, and she mimed zipping her lips before joining in the dance. The routine ended with Kylie striking a pose that would have been at home in any of her music videos, though she quickly made it look more awkward than it was. The crowd erupted in cheers and someone whistled through their fingers loud enough to make the glasses behind the bar rattle. As she caught her breath backstage, her new superfan friend slipped through the door. "I'm Barbara," she whispered excitedly. "I've seen you in concert 12 times. The first time was in Sydney in '89. What in the world are you doing in Prickly Pear Junction? Would you believe a broken-down tour bus and a sparkly hat?" Kylie replied, grateful to drop the fake accent. Barbara laughed. "Only you could turn a mechanical failure into a pageant entry. Don't worry, your secret's safe with me. But..." She hesitated. "You might want to know that my daughter's the local news blogger. She's live streaming the whole pageant on the town's Facebook page." Kylie's stomach did a flip that had nothing to do with her dance routine. "How many viewers?" Usually about 50 viewers," Barbara continued, "but right now." She pulled out her phone and showed Kylie the screen. "It's up to 20,000 and climbing. Your dance moves might have attracted some attention." Before Kylie could process this information, Marlene burst into the backstage area, fanning herself with her clipboard. "Sugar, you've set this place on fire. The judges can't stop talking about your performance. And would you believe it? People from all over Texas are suddenly tuning into our little live stream. Through the walls, they could hear the final contestant finishing her rendition of Friends in Low Places. Kylie's mind raced. She could hear Sebastian's voice in her head listing all the ways this could become a PR nightmare. International pop star crashes small-town pageant. Wasn't exactly the headline they were going for on this tour. But then she caught sight of herself in a dusty mirror propped against the wall. The sparkly cowboy hat sat at a jaunty angle on her head, and her cheeks were flushed with excitement. When was the last time she'd had this much pure, unscripted fun? "Barbara," she said suddenly, "would your daughter be willing to help me with something?" 10 minutes later, as the judges were deliberating, the Lone Star and Cactus Saloon was packed to the rafters. The live stream count had hit 50,000, and Barbara's daughter Emma was positioned strategically with her phone, ready for what Kylie had planned. Marlene took the stage, her hair somehow even bigger than before. "Ladies and gentlemen, before we announce our winner, contestant number 7 has requested to perform an encore." The crowd, now significantly larger thanks to what seemed like half the town showing up after seeing the live stream, erupted in cheers. Kylie took the stage, and this time she nodded to DJ Bobby with a different request. The opening notes of "Can't Get You Out of My Head" filled the saloon. A murmur of recognition rippled through the crowd. Kylie grabbed the microphone and finally let her natural accent shine through. Day, Prickly Pear Junction. What followed was a performance that would become the stuff of local legend. Kylie led the entire bar in a line dance version of her hit song, teaching them moves on the fly. Barbara's daughter Emma captured it all as cowboys in 10-gallon hats la-la-la alongside ranchers' wives and pageant contestants. Even Sebastian, who had finally tracked her down, couldn't help but join in from his spot by the door. When the judges returned, their decision was unanimous. Marlene, barely containing her glee, announced, "The winner of Miss Cactus 2025 is Kylie Minogue." The cactus-shaped cake was wheeled out as Kylie was crowned with a tiara adorned with genuine Texas turquoise. The other contestants, far from being upset, were beside themselves with excitement. Annie even asked Kylie to sign her cow-calling trophy. As promised, Mary Beth's Bakery had outdone themselves with the cake, 3 tiers of green-tinted vanilla cream, decorated with fondant spines and desert flowers. The local newspaper photographer captured the moment as Kylie, still in her sparkly hat now topped with the turquoise crown, cut the first slice. "You know," drawled Rick the mechanic, who had shown up to announce the bus was fixed, "we haven't had this much excitement in Prickly Pear Junction since that time Willie Nelson's tour bus broke down in '95. He ended up judging our chili cook-off." The story spread across social media like wildfire. Hashtag Miss Cactus Kylie and hashtag Prickly Pear Princess started trending. By the time Kylie made it to her Houston concert the next night, fans were showing up in sparkly cowboy hats and carrying cactus-shaped signs. The Lone Star and Cactus Saloon hung Kylie's photo on their wall of fame, right next to the mounted longhorn. Below it, they placed a small plaque that read, "The Little Australian Legend with the Big Hat, Miss Cactus 2025. Kylie kept the hat, wearing it as an encore costume for the rest of her Texas tour dates. And every year after that, on the anniversary of that unexpected night, the Lone Star and Cactus Saloon hosts a special spinning around line dance competition, where the grand prize is a sparkly cowboy hat and, of course, a cactus-shaped cake. As for the year's supply of sweet tea from the general store, Kylie had it donated to the local senior center, but not before taking a few bottles for the road. After all, as she told reporters later, you never know when you might find yourself back in Prickly Pear Junction, ready for another dance. The end, or as they say in Prickly Pear Junction, y'all come back now, you hear?
Tell us in the comments what part of this story impressed you the most. If you liked it, please like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss the next videos. See you in the world of incredible events.